Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Imbali. My name is Helen Herimbi, and I started Imbali basically as a way to give key players in music their flowers while they can still smell them, and also give them a chance to tell us their stories. Season 4 is what we're in now, and it's turning out to be one of the most personal seasons for me. And if you watch all the episodes, you'll know why. Today's guest is one of my favorite people, period. He answers to the golden mic holder, and sometimes he is the Last Letta. He is Zubz. Hey!
Finally, right?
Finally.
You think I'm key to the music industry?
I think you are a key African unlocked.
Oh,
no doubt, no doubt. You don't feel that way?
Plug.
Do you not feel that way?
No, I really don't. I mean, why would I?
Why would you not?
I mean, not everybody comes out to your lounge to give you flowers, right?
True, but
See, I don't win awards, I'm awarded wins.
you know, I hate that you said that because that's my last thing that I'm going to say to you
Well, then
today,
we'll
'cause
bring it back
I was
again
going to link
later.
it with something, but
It's
now...
fine, we'll link it later. I liked how you introduced me in that personal sense, because for me, this has been a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
In many ways. Sorry, I'm just now jumping ahead of
It's your show, you know, your family, so it's our show. Go ahead.
You know, I've never done an interview in my house.
I can see that.
Ever.
Yeah.
In the history of life.
Yeah.
Because
A home is a personal space.
where you don't let people in, right? And I do that with just about everything I do publicly, is I keep my personal space out of that.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody interested in it to poke in there. I don't give you the right to do that.
Yeah.
But this is different. This is imbali, this is you.
Yeah.
You know, this is somebody who's been in my personal space forever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's different with you. And so yeah, not only is it the first time to be doing it like this in my home, but it's the first time to doing it with somebody so close to me. You know?
Yeah. I really
gonna be fun.
appreciate that. I really appreciate the fact that you were even willing to do it.
Yeah.
Because I do know that you're very private and you're very like,
I was
there
not gonna
is
do it.
Zubz and there's Ndabaning.
Correct.
So for a lot of people, I think at some point people did think your name was Zubz.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not.
No.
So some of these things I'm going to be asking you are things that I know, but other people don't. So where does Zubz come from?
Okay, so Zubz is from when I was a kid. Like, you know, for the longest time, as far back as I can remember, I've loved music, I've loved poetry, I've loved words. So as a kid, you always want to have like, you know, a little nom de plume when you're writing poetry and stuff like that. So my first ever awarded poem as a child was under the nom de plume Lub Dub.
Lub Dub.
Lub Dub. And I came with Lub Dub because heart, there's a song we used to sing in like Sunday school. I go Lub Dub, I go, I am the heart, and I pump like so, Lub Dub, Lub Dub. Anyway, so I called myself Lub Dub because, you know, words from the heart, but also I was called Zubz at the time.
Why were you
I
called
was actually
Zubz?
called Zabi,
Okay.
because Zabi came from Ndabi.
Okay.
And Ndabi was short of Ndaba. Ndaba was short for Ndabaning.
Yes.
So Ndabaning was shortened to Ndaba, and Ndaba was shortened to Ndabs, and Ndabs was made Zubz, and that's how I became Zubz.
Yeah.
And then when it came to choosing a rap name, you experiment with different rap names over time, and then you just settle to whatever everyone's calling you, and then you just call yourself that.
Yeah.
And everyone was calling me Zubz. And
So
that
how
became
old
it.
were you when you were doing Lub Dub, when you were Lub Dub?
9, 8, maybe.
So how'd you have an
Single digit,
awarded
maybe
poem?
10.
What does that mean?
So it means basically, so there's these things, they were called the Eisteddfod.
Oh, I did Stedford.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very dope, you see? So this is in literature, creative writing, schools, high schools, primary schools. You're told to write. And then
Yeah.
your teacher picks the best one in the class, sends it through, they adjudicate, and they award you. And I was awarded first class that year. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at 9 years old, are you living in Zambia, which is where you're born, right? You're living in Zim at the time.
Yeah.
So let's rewind a little bit. When you are the year that you were born, what is the context of your family? Like, what's happening with your parents? Do you have older siblings, younger? Well, not younger because you're not here yet. But like, what's happening that year in the context of your family?
I was born in 76, the year that everybody knows for all other kinds of things. But it was the year of my birth. In 76 in South Africa is an uprising year, for those that don't know.
Yeah.
And I was born in Zambia, Kasama to be specific. My mother is a nurse, a nursing student at the time, or just a junior nurse, but fresh out of the gates. My dad is a lawyer. He wasn't a magistrate yet. Young couple in Zambia, fell in love, the whirlwind of romance, had their first child, my oldest sister, Sipo is her name. I know Sipo is a guy name out here, but Sipo is my sister's name. And then 2 years later, had me.
Yeah.
I don't really remember much about those years. I was way too small to remember anything. My earliest memory of Zambia was this one time when we were living in this home where we were invaded by someone. There was like a house breaking.
Oh my goodness.
I know, right? It's such a crazy memory to remember. And I remember my mom, or I think it was my mom, just grabbing my sister and grabbing me and running out the house with us.
That's my earliest memory somehow of Zambia as a child. Then we moved to Harare in the 80s, from about 1980, 81, that's where my proper formative memories begin. Growing up in Harare, going to school there, starting rapping there.
Why did you move? Why did you guys move?
My dad was seeking fortune as a lawyer. And, this journey led him to Harare,
Yeah.
where he became a magistrate. And literally it was that simple. He decided, I'm going to practice law in Harare and I'm taking my family with me. So took his wife, his 2 children, relocated to Harare, and had his last 2 children, from my mom at least, there.
Yeah.
That's why we wound up there.
Yeah.
My dad chose to relocate.
That is so cool because it, I think, speaks to the kind of state that Zimbabwe was in the early 80s, which is completely different from what it is,
where it is
now. So does it stand to reason then that you guys come to South Africa because of law again? What happened for you to...
When you say law, what do you mean?
Your dad's law career.
Oh, he didn't bring us to South Africa, no.
Oh, no?
No, it brought him from Zambia to Harare.
Okay.
I'm the one who chose the South Africa route.
I see. I thought you guys then came.
No. The family relocated to Harare, and that's where they were based. That's where they've lived. That's where they are.
Okay.
I'm the one who chose to come to South Africa.
Why?
To study. 1996.
Why would you do that?
Because they wouldn't let me into varsity in Zim.
Why not?
I didn't qualify. I wasn't smart enough. I didn't get the grades.
How?
I know, right? It's insane.
You had an awarded poem,
Let me tell
okay?
you, the standard then was insane.
Yeah.
No one could make it into university in Zim. Well, people obviously made it, right? But it was like creme de la creme of the creme would make it in.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that.
Wow, what were you trying to study?
My sister was, and she didn't make it.
Oh, wow.
My sister ended up going to UCT, where she studied law. Became just like my pops. Ended up working in his law firm. I studied the opposite. Well, not the opposite of law. I studied a BCom in information systems because that's what I was good at.
Yeah.
I didn't really go to university with a plan. I figured out the plan while I was at university, But yeah, I chose to go to Rhodes University because I didn't want to be on the same campus as my sister.
Okay.
And because I loved the energy in Grahamstown. Grahamstown felt a lot like a village, like a home, like a community that would embrace, a quirky type of dude like me. I was surrounded by quirky dudes. Rhodes University campus in the 90s, Grahamstown was
just an amazing melting pot of quirky human beings.
Yeah.
The most fun people you could ever think of. I mean, some of the names most people wouldn't know, but those that wouldn't know. I mean,
picture being in the same campus as people like Paul Llewellyn,
Spike, Unati.
Spike is
Phiona, sorry.
I mean,
Spike's
everyone who comes on to Imbali assumes
that
we're all
knows.
like on a first name basis.
I know, it's terrible.
Phiona is
I'll try and give
a
context.
veteran editor and writer and now podcaster, the noted man, all of that. Yes, that's Spike.
Correct. Justin Nurse. I don't know if people know who she is. Or he is, sorry.
Phiona Okumu.
Yes.
Myself. Sam Sabiti.
Miss Nick Funk. John Savage.
Listen, the list is so endless. I could go on. Donald Clark.
Like all these people on the same campus in the same time.
Yeah.
This was the 90s.
These guys. And it was just Rhodes University campus. It was crazy. It was mad. It was beautiful. It was powerful. We were all just creative energies bouncing off each other from the science labs to the journal department.
And you were there.
The best decision I ever made. Well, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Yeah. You were there to study information systems, or BCom.
Or BCom, yeah. I chose information systems later because it was the easiest thing for me.
Okay. And when you wanted to initially study in Harare, did you still want to do BCom, or were you pursuing what were you doing?
I still wanted to do something in the commercial sector because that was the most lucrative at the time, right? And everyone was saying, well, that's the one that makes sense, right? So it was accounting.
Economics.
Yeah.
So when I came to Rhodes in my first year as a BCom student, accounting and economics were a breeze for me because that's kind of what I did my A-levels in. So yeah, that's what I wanted to study in the financials.
Yeah. So you mentioned Phiona Okumu.
Yeah.
And on a previous Imbali episode, she says that you guys were DJs.
On campus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it RMR?
Yeah, Rhodes Music Radio.
Yeah. So did you have your own radio show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about your radio show.
My radio show.
Because I heard you were a big deal.
Dude,
like you guys were big names.
Listen, I've had different
Iteration of Zubz. Zubz
the DJ, okay? Zubz the DJ was quite a thing.
Tell me about it.
I know a lot of people don't believe because Zubz is pretty niche. He's very fringe, but
Grahamstown, if you're on
radio, right? Rhodes Radio, Rhodes Music Radio, or Go FM, whatever it is, you become like the guy at the time, right? So I would DJ at the schools, high schools, I would DJ at the tertiary
institutions, obviously campus.
Anyone that was doing that on campus was automatically doing it in the broader community. So Zubz, DJ Zubz at the time was that guy, man.
Yeah.
I had a beautiful radio show that was just, usually what happens is you're on graveyard shift for probably about a year, and then you graduate into mid-morning kind of slot, and then you get your more prime slots. My graveyard shit probably lasted 3 months because it was that popular.
Oh, wow.
We need to fast track you into this joint because it was dope. It was really dope.
So what slot did you wind up going into?
I had all the slots.
Really?
Yeah, I was on radio for a few years actually, while I was on campus.
Yeah.
A couple of years. So I had all the slots.
Which one was your favorite?
The more niched out slots. So it would probably be late afternoon, not quite drive time, and then the early evening slots as well.
Yeah.
You can pretty much do whatever you want.
And I got that cue from a guy named Adrian Woodhead. We used to call him Mass Dosage.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had this beautiful show called the Hip Hop Head Rush. Legendary hip hop show right across the Eastern Cape, not just on Rhodes campus, because it introduced people to what it really meant to be a hip hop head in the 90s. And he always kept the niche slots on RMR. So I looked up to him as being that guy who wanted to play niche music more than just the popular A-sides and, the lead singles.
Yeah.
I wanted to do the kind of track 7 type of thing.
So you were a radio DJ and a chiki DJ.
No, I was never a tiki.
Okay.
Just
Let's have a good
Okay.
time. I'll play, matric dance, DJ Zubz out here, socials,
There was a time, I'll tell you, I don't know if Fiona told you about this.
Yes. Tell me.
Constance came.
Yes.
To judge a DJ battle competition. We used to mix and stuff, but it wasn't about tiki. It was about how well can you mix your beat selection, your music selection, how the crowd is responding. And I think the finals was me and Fiona.
Yes.
I was mad nice that time. Because me, I'm nice with I don't play when I'm in there, I'm in there.
Yeah.
But Michelle, man.
Oh, you think it was rigged?
I think Michelle and Fiona were on something, man. I think they had this thing planned from jump. Because Michelle was just enamored with Phi. I mean, I get it. She's enigmatic. She's got awesome taste and selection in music. And she's but my
Selection was nuts.
Yeah.
And the people were going crazy. But nah, Fiona won that. And she deserved it, let's be real. And she did a good job.
She did tell us that story, but I like that you're saying your selection was nuts, right?
Yeah.
Because you have this song called Baby in the Cradle of a Mic Stand. And on it, you tell us the kind of music that kind of formed your palette.
Yeah.
And it's your special eds, NWA, and some kid and play. And then you say nobody really liked Queen Latifah. Why would you say that? What's wrong with you?
So back in those days, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a gender thing. It was a different time. People never rated Latifah like
The Queen. I mean, she called herself Queen Latifah, but they never really treated her like she was like one of the champion pioneers, you know?
Yeah.
And it was probably because no one had quite seen what her legacy would look like with hindsight, right? So they slept on her. Nobody really you'd say, yo, who are your top 5 MCs? No one would really say Queen Latifah.
Okay.
What's your top 5 album this year? No one would say, well, Black Rain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay. Got it.
Not that,
She actually is terrible. No,
she's amazing.
but people just wouldn't give her the props she deserved.
Yeah. So
Nobody really liked her.
So by the time you're losing to Phiona, right, at this DJ battle, are you still writing more than I Stedfords? Are you writing rhymes? Like, what's happening with you and your creative journey at school, at Rhodes?
At Rhodes, throughout my entire stay at Rhodes, I was rapping as well. So, you know, I'd go to lectures, do the homework,
do the tutorials, do the radio show.
and I had a rap squad. Like a whole squad of people that rap. Sami Sabiti was one of them. Ezra Kahimbara was another one.
Yeah.
Just a gang of us who used to rap together. So yeah, I'd still write, I'd still perform. A guy called Paul Llewellyn at the time, Paul went on to do other things in the music industry, but Paul Llewellyn at the time was a Journey student. He shot his very first ever music video on one of our songs, a song called Simple Pleasures.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was still writing, still rapping, still performing, you know, where I could.
Yeah.
You know.
What was the name of the group that had Simple Pleasures?
Twisted Souls, but it wasn't my group. I was just a solo guy.
Okay.
Actually, Twisted Souls was the Ezra and Salah group. The other one was Kwame and Kwashe.
Okay.
Kwame and Kwashe.
Were these
they
their
had
real
the song
names?
called Simple Pleasures. Kwame, no, that was not his real name. Kwashe was his real name. His name is Kuda Kwashe. So he called himself Kwashe for short.
Okay.
But they called themselves Kwame and Kwashe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you were doing your solo thing.
Yeah.
And what sort of music were you making?
Hip hop still.
But is it the music that we would come to know you for as the public, that you would get introduced as? Or
What kind of music is that?
Like what? Like introspective?
Okay.
Or party? Like, what do you mean by...
This is what I want to know. What kind of music were you making? What were you rapping about?
I was rapping about the same stuff I rapped about when people got to know me. Seriously,
Okay.
like, yo, how I saw the world and the kind of things I enjoyed and girls and, you know, parties,
Life,
Yeah.
religion,
science.
science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of things.
Were you looking at writing as a way to manifest your life at that time?
No. I
Okay.
just wrote because it's what I'd always done ever since I was a kid. I wrote because I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was rewarding.
Yeah.
And I was really, really good at it.
And in hindsight, do you feel like some of your lyrics have been manifestations? Like you
I do.
didn't have it then and
Yeah.
then. So give me an example of one thing that you
So, for example,
rapped
I
into
write.
life. Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the first single that I ever came out with as a professional hip hop artist for my debut album. I didn't know at the time, but I was literally defining myself.
Yep.
You are Zubz the writer, you know? I didn't know I was doing that. You
Yeah.
know? Yes, there's your example. There are
So-
many, but that one will do.
So this is a song I wanted us to talk about, right? 'Cause,
Which one?
I write.
Okay.
Because in Baby in the Cradle of a Mic Stand, you don't mention Barry Manilow.
No, I don't mention Barry Manilow.
But here he comes in I Write. Tell me a little bit about making that song.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So Barry Manilow and others like him, by the way, are artists I grew up listening to in Harare. There was a radio station that played all these people. You'd hear Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, Sting, Mr. Rick Astley,
Von Chaka Chaka, Brenda Fassie.
Soul Brothers in one show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And obviously I knew Barry Manilow and I knew his music. I knew the song. I write the songs that make the... And then when a young kid by the name of Stembiso,
No, not your brother.
Not my brother. No.
this is a different Stembiso. We called him Stethoscope. I think I actually gave him that name, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I'm the one who, knighted him Stethoscope.
Because, I mean, Stethoscope went on to produce for Squatter Camp, like a lot of what would be a part of one of the first golden eras of Southern African hip hop, right? Yeah. Okay.
We also did some stuff with, I think, TS Records and gospel stuff. Anyway, so Stethoscope produces this joint, and he's playing just a bunch of beats, And at the time, I don't know if he was at the time producing for Verb as well, for Proverbs, Book of Proverb, but my primary producer for my debut album was Battle Cat. Stethoscope was like one of the more sort of fringe producers at the time. So he had like a folder of beats, and then the one beat was I Write. And how it started was he had clipped in this sample of Barry Manilow's I Write right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I write the songs that make... And I was like, yo, that would be a fantastic concept for the song. But we'd have to take that part out because, clearance, right?
Yeah.
So we took that intro out, and then we just kept the beat part, but we kept the concept from Barry Manilow, and I wrote around that.
Yeah.
So the whole song just came from that. That was the foundation of it. Even when you see like the chorus, how it's written, it's pretty much structured around that.
The original song.
I write I write the songs, I write the songs. Same structure with the chorus.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's go through the chorus a little bit, right? Because we're talking about prophecy, right?
Yeah.
So I've been known to butcher lyrics on imbali, so I'm gonna read them this time. or do you remember them? Do you wanna?
The lyrics to what I write?
Yeah, like the chorus.
Yes.
Okay, give me the lyrics.
No, I want to hear you say them. That's gonna be fun.
Okay, so it's obviously I write the songs that make the young girls cry. I write the songs that make the sun glow bright.
Yeah.
I write the songs that can make a grown man weep. I write the songs you hearing over in your sleep, right?
Yeah.
And I think all of those songs are all of those lyrics are very obvious. Like, I'm sure people have cried to your music. I'm sure like people feel an affinity to it, right? But then you say, I write songs that can make you laugh for days or laugh for days.
Yeah, I know, we're rappers. Rappers in Africa, it could be laugh one day, then laugh the other.
And I instantly thought, ooh, agony hags, Yeah. And then you also have songs that radio has to play.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
What did you instantly think? You didn't instantly think Agony Hags?
No, I instantly thought Part-Time Lover.
Okay, of course.
But we will get to Part-Time Lover. And then you said you write the songs that stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And was that always your mission? Were you like, I want people to remember me? Or were you rapping because it was something that you could do and it was fun for you?
So, subconsciously, I think every artist at that time especially wants to have something that matters when they write and they contribute to the body of work that exists in the world. And you do subconsciously want to, I guess, remembered is not the right word, but acknowledged. But you don't deliberately do that. You don't go out there to write a song that will stand the test of time. This song will stand, no. It just happens to stand the test of time because it's in a medium that doesn't degrade over time, which is sound. It will outlive the flesh and blood. So it will stand the test of time in that sense, but you don't do that deliberately. You don't go out there thinking, this next song will stand the test of time. No.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't trying to do that.
Yeah.
But it was clear that, this is not going to just be a song for today.
Yeah.
It's going to be a song for a while. Even then at the time when we did it, that's why we made it the first single. We knew that this was a special song, I don't remember a single
performance I've ever done where I've not done I Write.
Yeah.
Most of the songs, most of the sets I do, I start with I Write.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty significant because you branded yourself as the writer. Exactly. Like that is, if nothing else, people know that you can write your ass off.
100%.
And recently I was looking at a bunch of hype magazines and I kept coming across this byline, the writer.
Yes.
And I was like, is this?
Could it be that this might have been...
writer?
What was the writer writing about?
It was articles about hip hop and interviewing other
Were they
people.
good articles?
I don't know. Was it you?
I'm telling you, I'm asking you. You're the one who read it.
Were they good?
My answer depends on whether it was you or not.
Because you don't offend me, my own smart.
Was that you?
It could very possibly have been me.
Oh, come
It
on.
could very possibly have been me. Look, I've done a lot of stuff
Under nom de plumes and stuff as a ghostwriter and stuff like that, you know.
and I like to keep those.
Hidden.
Okay.
It's important for me that I do that because sometimes the Zubz Last Letta Golden Mic Holder, ill round writer, MC extraordinaire prejudices me in the spaces, you know?
Yeah.
The writer, you know, or other nom de grands might not prejudice me in those spaces. So, you know.
I can't believe you won't tell me this thing. Like,
Why would I?
Because, you know, we're friends. And
Maybe
you're
when I write a book. Maybe when I write a book.
Will it be under a nom de plume? Like this book about Zubz, I didn't write
Written
it.
by some random...
Okay, fine. You can be hardcore like
But
that.
it's very observant of you.
I am a very observant person. I also want to talk about this hardcore period of your life.
Yeah.
You know,
The
because
group, not...
yeah, not
the
the Little Kim
description.
album. It was hard C.O.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that phase of my life, eh?
But you have to give people context. What the heck is hardcore?
So hardcore, hard C.O.R.E, was a Christian rap group in Harare. Hard Christian-oriented rapping evangelists, because that's what we were. We were from the Baptist church, pretty evangelical, very Bible-based, frowned at by the church because what is this secular music you guys are bringing to our holy space? What are you doing?
Yeah.
But we were rapping in church and we were very Bible-based. We had songs like Gangsters in the Right Gang.
Yeah.
Give the Lord the
In
props.
the right gang,
In the
you know?
right gang. How do you know these things? Did you actually do your little background research? I bet you got the songs. Yeah, so it's a Christian rap group. They actually had started without me. They brought me in when they discovered I could rap. I was reluctant at first because I was never really a fan of groups, but I was a fan of the guys in the church. Those guys were amazing. Kudam Sasiwa, Doc Tendai Stole, Rokudzo Stole, Alan Mushori. I'm gonna forget a bunch of names, but just, you know, there were just a bunch of really great guys and girls, by the way,
who wanted to rap like rappers rap, writing, but also with a message and make a difference and make an impact.
Yeah.
and that's what they did. They stuck to it, no matter what the church said and no matter what the world said. They still did their thing. And it was rewarded in the end. We went on a nice, you know, nationwide tour. My first ever tour was with that group.
Oh, wow.
My first ever nationwide tour was with that group. My first ever stage with a global headliner was with that group. We performed with the Lost Boys. In
Oh,
Harare,
wow.
Yeah. And at the time, I loved the Lost Boys, you know,
Yeah.
because with the best up in Zimbabwe, hey, you know. So when they came to Harare, you know, we shared the stage with them, you know, curtain-raising acts, right? So we got to hang out with Mr. Cheeks, and it was just a dream come true for me, you know, when you idolize people from a distance.
Yeah.
And then there they are. And then you're on the same stage with them, and then you guys are also doing the same thing, right?
It's so empowering, you know?
And that really set the tone for how I was to see my idols for the rest of my life. And whether I share stages with them, share songs with them, or whatever, I got to see myself in the light of who they are. Whereas before, if I hadn't done the Lost Boys stage with that Christian rap group, I might have had my first interaction with my idols in a different way that would have informed how I see my idols today. you know?
Yeah.
And how you see your idols will inform the kind of person you want to be in terms of inspiring others. So that was super critical and formative for me at that point.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you say that, because I think I've said this to you before. Like, you're literally the only idol that I've met of mine that didn't turn out to be a total douche. Or not even, let me not say a total douche. Just sometimes you feel like you idolize someone and then they show you that they're human. And then it's like, oh,
And it's like, oh my gosh, that's
I
disappointing.
didn't need to see how the boerewors gets made. I just... but you're like the only person I've been like, oh wow, like you're actually just really dope.
Thanks, man.
And we've never spoken about the hardcore thing.
No.
So when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's so cool, because some of the songs that I think a lot of people resonate with from you have had some kind of faith undertone, like whether it's a God in you or agnostic. And it's not always like, oh yes, praise God. Sometimes it's questioning and calculating and all of that. And I want to know about the role that spirituality has played in your career? Like, are there things that you can point to that you're like, it was only because of my faith or my lack of faith that I went this far?
Spirituality is a huge part of who I am, who I've always been. Growing up in a very, very Christian household with very, very Christian principles. And of course, starting to rap in a Christian rap group. But besides that, like, as someone who grew up reading so heavily and being heavily immersed in creative iterations the world over, a lot of creative iterations over time have come from spiritual spaces, have been inspired by spiritual forces of some kind. That's kind of where art and literature and beauty stem from, is from spiritual spaces.
Yeah.
So of course I was spiritual all along. My Christian roots were not something I chose. That's just because you're born into a Christian space. So you get older, you get more contemplative, you start to think about some of these principles, you start to question more and do more research, meet more people, talk to more people, and as you learn things and discover things as an artist, you express them, you know? So of course it will come out in the music. Of course it will come out in the way that I write. My reluctance to go in with the vulgarity, you know. All those things are informed by this spiritual undertone, you know, this underpinning of, you know, godhood and those kind of values, you know. But again, like, you get older, right? And then spirituality stops being like a Santa Claus story, right? It starts becoming a real thing in life, because now it has to matter what you invest in, right? Creatively, you know, physically, mentally.
Yeah.
And you question more, because now it's like, oh, but I can't keep walking around believing this still.
Yeah.
I must now justify why I believe it, right?
Yeah.
I certainly can't put it in music anymore and say it with my chest, right? I have to believe it, right? So then you do that. And then you go through that phase, and that evolves over time, and you take your audience along with you for that journey, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone else around you, your friends, your wife, you know, everyone else who's your parents, you take them all with you on this journey of constant spiritual evolution.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I've been glad that I've expressed in my music over time, is because I can go back to some of the songs I wrote 20 years ago and be able to get a great sense of where I was spiritually then. And in some cases, reconnect with that, especially when I stray. And I'm not really sure why I do what I do. I'll listen to that version of who I was then, and then it will remind me.
That's such a dope thing, like that it's a time capsule.
Yeah.
So I suppose to go back in a more chronological order, you decide to do this BCom, and you could very well go and like do information studies, or well, go do some IBM stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But you find yourself as, are you the first employee for Black Rage Productions?
Was I the first? I can't remember. I can't remember. You'll have to ask one of the Black Rage folks, yeah.
So,
But I was definitely in the early days.
yeah, I think...
As in the first time they built the site,
Yeah.
I was the guy.
So from what I know from Maria McCloy, who was obviously a third of the guys that started Black Rage Productions, you and Phiona were their first people that they brought
that's
into
dope.
the company.
That's dope.
And I think legend has it then you became the first artist on Outrageous Records, which was the music arm of Black Rage Productions. How did you wind up being the first signee?
Low-hanging fruit. That's how. Low-hanging fruit. We need to sign somebody. Who's around? Zubz, can you rap? You're our first artist. Nah, man. Yeah, they wanted to start a record label.
They loved hip-hop. They loved urban culture.
You know. We all did, you know. And at the time, even before I had met them, you know, I was already doing the rap thing. They were not interested in my rap stuff. They were interested more in the BCom information guy, the one who could help them with the website, right?
Yeah.
Rage.co.za. So that was my primary job over there.
What were you doing exactly
The
on
website.
the website? Like, but you were
Build it.
designing? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like sometimes I'll get an external designer and I would put it together. Sometimes I'd get external writers and then they would bring the content. Maria was editor. She ran the site. She pretty much was the boss of everybody. How it looked, how it worked, when content went up, who wrote the content, how.
Yeah.
I was just the technical guy who made sure everything worked, who made sure everything...
You were the webmaster. I
was the
think that's
webmaster.
what it was called then.
I was
right?
the webmaster. Yeah, that was the official name, the official description. So yeah, I was the webmaster. But because I was rapping on the side, right, I was doing battles and stuff, right? And they were like, dang, this guy is serious about this rap stuff, eh? What, he won the battle? We should go watch him. Then they'd watch me like, yo, this dude is nice. So when it came time to set up the record label, it was a no-brainer, right? This guy was nice and he's right here, you know?
Yeah.
So they took a chance on me and they co-signed my efforts by saying, yo, man, we believe that you could do this and do it proper, you know?
Yeah.
No one had ever done that for me, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys in hardcore brought me in because they thought I could rap, right? The guys on campus were like, yo, who else on campus raps, you know? But these guys were willing to put their resources, their energies, their reputation behind that, you know?
Yeah.
That's the first time anyone ever showed me that amount of faith. I mean, even my parents, I had to prove to them I was serious about this thing, you know? But them, they were like, okay, this is our guy.
Yeah.
You know? And then they ran with me till the wheels fell off. To this day, they run with me. So it's pretty, and they don't even owe it to me. I'm not even like, it's just, I mean, they don't owe it to me. We're not contractually obligated, but they still have my back to this day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Outrageous Records for you, man.
I like that you mentioned, oh, this guy does the battles. He won? Because I think there are certain things that we take for granted as people who love music from this country, right? Like, it's just like, oh, but everybody knows. But no, not everybody knows that you were this battle MC.
No.
And there was a huge monumental battle. What would we call it? Like, it's just a battle, right? It's got heats, right? But it was
rounds.
It was iKapa versus
Oh, that's the
Jozi.
one you're talking about. Okay.
Oh, you're talking about another one? Tell me about yours and then we'll talk about mine.
There was another one at 206, which is
Yeah.
a club on Louis Botha in Johannesburg, where people were battling, as they did at
Who
the
are
time.
the people?
It's a gang of people.
Who are the people?
A gang of people.
You want to protect the losers. Tell us
A gang
who
of people.
lost.
You must ask Amu. He was there for everything from top to bottom.
He actually told me just before the final, I'd win it.
And in the final, I was in
With Snazz D, I'll say that.
Okay.
Snazz was in
Snazz the
final.
Dictator.
Yeah. Snazz and I were in the final.
At the time, Snazz, nobody was trying to go toe-to-toe with Snazz because battling was freestyle for real.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't come there with
Scripts. You didn't prepare. You didn't know who you were going to be battling, but you had to pick from the moment, the person, the space, create rhyme structures that will blow people away, metaphors, witty punches, you know. So Snazz was really good at that. Really good at that.
Yeah.
So him and I were in the finals, and I won, which was really eye-opening because at that point Bradley was there as well, Bionic. At the time he ran a company that would later put on Black August.
Yeah.
And from that battle, he realized, okay, this guy needs to be one of the guys who's going to be on that stage when we put this thing on. Yeah. And then I had something similar at Horror Cafe at the time, just to be sure. He had me perform there, saw the crowd response, and he was like, yep, you're that guy.
You're gonna put him on.
So by the time Black August came, I didn't even have to, I didn't have to reprove myself to the guy. He knew that once I jumped on that stage, it was game over. Even though no one knew who I wasn't gonna do songs anybody knew, but everybody had a fantastic time and it set the dominoes going.
Yeah.
So that battle, the 206 one, is where it kind of all started the domino effect from. But you tell me about iKapa versus Jozi.
Before I do that, do you remember what you said to Snazz? Like, what were some of your lines that were like,
No.
oh,
No.
I feel like you're too nice. Like, you do remember, but... So
I do remember, but no.
Here's the story that I heard, and you were there, so you must tell me.
Okay.
So I heard that there was this monumental battle that a bunch of MCs from Johannesburg and a bunch of MCs from Cape Town were gonna come together and face off.
Yeah.
And you basically are the reason why Johannesburg was the winner of iKapa versus Jozi. So tell me about that battle. Do I have the right story?
You have a part of the story.
Okay, tell me.
By the way, the journey to that place was amazing, right? Because we went by bus. And everyone was in the same bus. So if you can imagine at the time,
the whole of like
Joburg's
sort of
buzzworthy MCs in one bus. And we had like Bad Boy in the bus, Lee was in the bus, like, you know, the Harambe crew basically on the bus.
Bad Boy T.
Yeah.
And Lee Kasumba.
Correct. Yeah.
So who else is there?
folks.
Squatter Camp.
Squatter Camp. Just about, I mean,
Stogie T.
You name them. They're in the bus.
So
It's a big bus.
Buses for a lot of people. It's Greyhound. We were laughing on that bus. We were bonding on that bus. We were getting to know each other on that bus. It's a long bus ride, we're laughing, we're joking, we're bonding, we're forming bonds where they weren't, we're strengthening bonds where they were.
By the time we got to Cape Town, this was not just like a bunch of rappers from Joburg.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a unit.
Yeah.
This was a team. Where we were staying, we were like, it was energy, bonding. By the time the battle came, this team wasn't losing. Mm-hmm. This team was winning.
Yeah.
So everybody was bringing it. Slicker's verse, nice. Everyone's just
Who
nice.
was he battling?
Smack, I don't remember. Smack, just nice,
Is
right?
that the real answer?
It is.
Okay.
Mad nice.
If you don't remember who he was battling,
You
who
can
were
ask
the
him.
Cape Town MCs?
I don't remember, but they were dope.
Really?
Yeah, really dope. I mean, you knew Cape Town. Cape Town had the lyricists, man.
But
Cape Town had like
who
Fifth
are the-
Floor,
okay.
Tebs and them.
Okay.
Cape Town had like heavy hitters, man. Check them out.
But you
So-
must tell us because it's not archived anywhere. Like nobody.
It is archived in people's
Where?
brains. Go tell them.
Go ask them. I'll tell you my side of the story.
Okay.
The final came. I don't remember who I was battling in the final. So we were in the final, and he dropped his line, which is a nice line.
You don't remember who it was, but you remember the line.
No, I don't remember who it was. It was a nice line, and he was like, he said something about how I was evil, right?
You're evil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, if I'm the devil, we'll hear the devil speak, right? Then I said some stuff about his soul inside out and plunked it onto devil's peak, right? Cape Town was like, damn! That's when I knew I won the battle. At that point, everybody knew I won the battle. So I didn't even need to, go on after that. It was game over. Judges, everybody, and then...
Who were the judges?
I don't remember.
So then we started throwing each other up in the air, I was being thrown up, everyone was being thrown up, and we won the battle. And from that moment on, I think I was officially accepted as a JSEC MC. By the JSEC cats especially, I think at that moment they realized, before then it was just Amu. And the
It was Amu
Outrageous
and
Records
many more.
cats. No, just Amu who had seen me and said, I see you,
okay.
bro. And Amu at the time was pivotal, But you can't just get a cosign from somebody and it's done. No, you got to earn your stripes, right? And that's the moment I earned my stripes. And everybody in the space at the time then realized, okay, there's this cat. His name is Zubz. He's nice with the mic. He writes real dope. He battles and freestyles. Careful of that dude, right?
Yeah.
That guy could, So, but at that point already, I think myself and Verb had established ourselves as pretty formidable battle MCs, So by the time we went to Cape Town, anyone that was taking on the two of us was already like, oh my God, I don't want to face Verb, I don't want to face Zubz, I don't want to face Slicker, These were the names that people were just like, this guy might.
Yeah.
And that was that.
So what did you win aside from a title?
I don't remember really. I think it was just the title. And for me, what I really remember it for the most is that cosign, where you're now part of the family. You're now officially inducted into the, the inner circle.
Yeah.
Because it was like an inner circle, I'm not gonna lie. Joburg MCs, Cape Town MCs, Eastern Cape, they really form tight units and circles. You're either in that unit or you're not. And to get in that unit is almost like you have to get in on merit, So I was very, very proud of that moment for that.
Yeah. You guys were like a unit that was also stuck in Cape Town, right?
What do you mean?
Because there was a whole...
Drama.
Yeah, about you guys not... Because you went with the bus. And how did you get back to Joburg?
I can't remember, no recollection. I really don't.
Have you been to an imbali before? Like we're here to talk about
the
story.
crowds, right? At Imbali are the ones that
Killed me. The crowds are the ones where they hold you to the wire, hold you to the thread. But tell me about the delay.
No, it's okay. I think that's somebody else's story. It's somebody else's story
Cool.
to
I'm
tell.
keen to hear it.
I overhear things and people tell me things and then, I wanted to
A
corroborate
lot happened in
it.
Cape Town, eh?
Yeah.
A lot happened in Cape Town.
So I wanted to
lot went
corroborate
down.
with you. But what we do know for sure, what you do remember, is that you became known as a formidable freestyler, battle MC. You do not want to mess with me, right?
Yeah.
So by the time you get to write this song called Number One,
Yes.
who did not know to not come against you?
Just people who weren't there in Cape Town.
Please give us context.
So there was a
happened?
website at the time. I think it was called Africa's Gateway, and there was this dude who was just like, these days they have the comment section. So Africa's Gateway is like a forum,
yes,
where the equivalent today would be like the comment section, if I'm honest.
Yes.
And people would upload stuff. People would make comments and such, and then they would get, depending on their comment, they would get bumped up on the comment sort of thread. And this guy was high up on the comment threads all the time. He almost became like the unofficial guy.
Yeah.
And he had some things to say about me and a few things I did. And I was like, yeah, this one I won't let slide because it matters, right? This is the kind of thing.
What did he say?
Doesn't matter. But then at that moment, it became clear that I had to do a little bit of a response. I wouldn't say a clap back, but a response. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though.
Immortalizing people's names in media like this, where it's gonna live online for time, is not my. It's not my thing. I'm not a fan of that.
I won't say.
So I won't do it on my records.
Yeah.
And I won't do it on the show.
So I won't say the names.
No.
Out of respect for you. But from what you tell us when the song starts, is that this is for those three
MCs that tried to diss me in 2003.
In 2003.
Correct.
And the forum that you're talking about, I think a lot of people kind of saw the logic in you not responding. And it was just like a bunch of people being like, but Zubz doesn't need to do that. Like, why is this even a conversation, right?
Well, it doesn't need to do what?
Doesn't need to respond to you.
Or respond, yeah.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the only kind of, there's a verbal confrontation between Zubz and someone.
Right.
Or people that I've ever heard about. Is there a verbal confrontation that I missed that you do want to talk about?
No, there isn't one.
There isn't one you want to talk about, or there isn't one that
There have been many. Not everybody likes what I do, eh? A lot of people who find what I do terrible, really. They think it's not, there's nothing there. And I mean, they're entitled to feel that way. Then there are people who are like, yo, your stuff is nuts, right? So I get both. Okay. And it's different kinds of people. So sometimes it's the type of people that have huge audiences and great sort of sway on like public opinion that absolutely hate my stuff, right? Then there's people who are not so influential, not so, I guess, powerful in the space, who completely love my stuff, right? So the spectrum is broad. So yeah, there are many conversations where they're like, yo, nah, But I mean, getting called out for me, it's like your choice, man. You have the right to do what you want on your platforms, with your people, or even my people. That's you. Go ahead, do that. Yeah. My response is never really other than for my own sake about just doing what I feel I want to do in that moment. And at that time when I did number one, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a song that spoke to those things without it being about, yo, let's go, it's a battle. Yeah. It's not that kind of vibe.
Yeah, but number one was a bop though.
Right?
Like, I'm going to diss you and we're going to...
Or just vibe. But cat beats, man.
So for people who don't know, number one is from your official debut album, Listener's Digest. And you've already expressed that your main producer for that album was Battlecat. But several things happened for us to know Listener's Digest as what it is today. So first of all, I think one of the things that changed, or you'll tell me if it changed the direction you were going in or not, was that your dad passed away.
I knew you were going to go there. Helen is that guy in Bali. No, let's do it. Let's go.
No, tell me.
No, nothing. So it's just the time, when in that time, death is in the air. You know what I mean? It's a heavy time. But let's go on.
I feel like you want to say something.
No. I'm just going to say it's a delicate moment.
Okay.
To talk about delicate subjects like the passing of my father. But it's fine. I'm very happy to talk about the passing of my dad. Because it's you. We're in our lounge. It's in Bali. Let's go.
So tell me...
I want to not remember.
Yeah. Tell me about how his passing affected the music that we would then get to hear. Because you had to leave studio and go to Zimbabwe, right?
Yeah, Zim and Zambia. Because that's where he's buried.
Yeah.
in the most profound of ways, to be honest with you. So, we lost a lot of music that year as well. Those days, if you didn't back stuff up on hard drives and they crashed, you lost it. It was that simple, and you had to recreate it. So that happened to us with Listeners Digest. But the year my dad passed away, and it was a tragic, unexpected accident. It wasn't something you could prepare for. So it really hit me hard. The closest family member of mine at the time to have passed away. And when you've had a family unit all your life, that's your world, that's your norm. That's all you know. And it changes that dramatically. Everything changes dramatically.
Yeah.
So it gave birth to a new me, which was punctuated by Listeners Digest. So Listeners Digest is not just a debut for a career, it's also a moment that marks this guy that became me now.
Yeah.
So he passes away. I have to come back after that entire period of, putting him to rest and finish the album, and then put it out and then go on tours, interviews, press things. And to be honest with you, I had numbed so hard. By the time I got on the plane to go home for that entire period of burial and stuff, I was already numb.
Yeah.
I already couldn't register a lot of stuff happening. I don't know who was there. I don't know when I arrived. I remember my mother and her being surrounded by ladies and they were crying.
Yeah.
But if you ask me who were those women, I don't know who those women were.
It's a blur.
All I know is I saw my mother in our home.
In our lounge.
At that chair, which I know, that chair. And that chair wasn't made for that. It wasn't made for my mom to be sitting in there like that.
Yeah.
So that I remember. But who the ladies were that were doing this around her, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So how we managed to record some of those songs after that, I don't remember.
And after the hard drive crashing, it was like...
I don't remember. Somebody will have to
blow
remind
after
me.
blow. Yeah.
How we managed to master the thing. Really, Zeno is a godsend from heaven. He's an angel because he was pretty much running point where I was gone. So was Battle Cat. I was gone, man.
Yeah.
I was gone. I wrote, rapped, re-recorded where I needed to, showed up for what I needed to show up for, and I was gone. So it took me some years after Listeners Digest, by the time I was writing Headphone music, to fully register what had happened with my debut album. This was a big deal project.
Yep.
You touched lives across the continent, bro. There's rappers from Tanzania to this day that message me and say, you do realize my first album was Listeners Digest, right? And that whole period, I was gone.
Yeah.
Agony Hags, Handiende, Brand New Day, all these things. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a thing that I only begun to enjoy once my second album came out.
Yeah.
And my memories of that period have become about my father, and my having to accept the fact that he had died in the manner in which he died, at the time at which he died, which was not easy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I love that album so much is because it will help me punctuate that period musically forever.
It's a marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I think we all have very complex relationships with our dads and, the spaces, whether they're there physically or not. They can be spaces, And you said Battle Cat and Zeno mastered the thing, and then I remembered Master. And
M-A-S-T-E-R.
it's Master. I'm a master. And
some people are like, Shako, you lost letter or last letter? I was like, listen, verse 1 I'm saying last. By verse 3 is last. So again, being an African rapper from a certain time is just fun thing.
So my little brother is Hope, right? Everybody knows his name.
Hope
is Hope.
Master.
And
Hope
his
Master.
alias is Hope Master, Hope Master.
Yeah.
And he was given that name by my dad.
Oh, wow.
And I was just thinking about that and how within the first, is it a stanza? First part of your song, Master, do you remember how you start the song?
Straight off the bat, you can tell when I rap, I'm mad different. Got the mad vision of the spirit of my dad risen.
Yep.
And with that wisdom, I break the mental black prison. Educated African, my religion, rapism.
Lovely. I was definitely going to butcher those rhymes. But the idea of the vision of your dad risen, what is that in a tangible form? What does that look like? What is the vision of your dad?
Wow, Helen. My first thought that pops to mind when you ask is my nephew, Ethan. My youngest sibling, my little brother, Sino.
Yeah.
His firstborn son, his name is Ethan. That is probably the spirit of my dad risen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another nephew who's kind of named after my dad. He's a lot younger than Ethan, but Ethan would be that guy. He's the first true Mabuya from my dad's Mabuya. So it would be him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the true legacy of my father, you know. Nothing to do with me, you know. I mean, you need someone else to tell it, but, you know, my father he was a lawyer. I heard he used to play drums and stuff when he was in school, but other than that, I don't know him to be about what I'm about.
Yeah.
You know, out of all the siblings, I think he loved my sister the most, my older sister. He was hardest on me the most.
Yeah.
Never told me he loved me, not once. He asked me one time, this thing that you're doing, what is this thing? And those were his exact words. This, Ndaba, this the thing you're doing. Tell me about this thing. And at that point, it's because he had read about me in the paper.
Yeah.
So up until that point, my whole life, he hadn't asked about it. When I won my poetry award, it was my mom with me, you know, collecting the shield at the end of the year. So anyway, nothing of mine would be the legacy in the spirit of my dad risen.
Okay.
It would be my nephew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to even offer that I think the way that you lead your life, you have this like big brother, uncle, sage persona, you know, that a lot of us look to, not just for jokes, but also for actual real life things.
Oh, why you guys do that to yourselves? That's a bad idea.
Because you got jokes. But I think that the thing that you mentioned about looking back when you were making once you've had your second album, Headphone, Music in a Parallel World, long title, which I love. And I love that cover.
It's beautiful, yeah.
I do wonder if that's how you avoided what the Americans call the sophomore curse. Do you think it is? Because you weren't concentrating on, hey, I made a classic, and now I've got this pressure to make a second album.
Well, I'm glad you feel like the second album is a classic, because I agree. I think it is loved by a lot of people. That cover, by the way, was done by Rhodes Deluxe. You know that, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
It
dope.
was done by Rhodes.
Yeah.
He's your boy. He's also from the Val, isn't he?
He's from the bar. Yeah.
Wildcat like y'all.
Anyway, I think you're right. I think it did play a part in it. I was very detached from this. I was doing a tour at the time.
Where were we? We were in Finland. I think we're in
the Netherlands, actually, at the time when I was writing Headphone Music. We're in the Netherlands with our Zulu boy. I think that was the time. And yeah, I was removed from listeners in more ways than one, even physically. I was just energetically, I was just not there.
Yeah.
Instead, I was somewhere else doing this moving around thing, traveling around thing. And I'd already brought my beats from Mizi and Nyambo to write to. And that allowed me to write from a completely different space. So the music selection was different, the writing was different, the topics were different, the energy was different.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest things to do as a musician is be able to tap into different spaces for different creative energies, you know? And I was able to do that for the second album, you know?
Yeah.
It was good to be detached in that sense. And it was really, it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah. I think for the general public, it just felt like there's definitely an evolution there. But obviously we didn't know the motivation or what spurred it on. And I think for most people, you remember when we had the Stogie T imbali
Yes.
And he had this joke about like, oh, why are you guys lumping me in with Zubz and Proverb? But the sentiment was that you guys were put into this conscious rap category. And for him, at some point, he wanted to do something
Distance
else.
himself from that, yeah.
Did you ever feel like, oh my God, do I have to be conscious rap all the time?
No, I never felt that way. I still don't to this day. I acknowledge that we were lumped into one group. Dumi, Zubz, Proverb became like some kind of unofficial...
It's a trio.
Yeah, you know? Belle Biv DeVoe, right? So no, I don't have a problem with being yoked with those guys. I love those guys. They're my brothers. I respect their craftsmanship. They write amazing. To be in the same league with those guys is actually it's a compliment.
Yeah.
You know? And I love them. Family. They also... They're in my house, you know?
Yeah.
And consciousness, being a conscious rapper for me is just, I think it's people's way of saying, you're not a party guy, we don't have fun music from you, you always bring heavy things, and sometimes you overdo it, man, it's a lot, which is fine with me. I'm okay for you to feel that way about what I do. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the conscious tag is fine with me, even when it's used derogatory vibe, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also a tag that a lot of people weren't surprised that you would make a song like Get Out.
Yeah.
Except for the Freedom Front.
They were not surprised.
They were surprised.
Oh, as in the Freedom Front were surprised.
Yes. Do you remember what they said? I wanna read you
Go ahead.
a thing that the Freedom Front Plus, they lodged a formal complaint with the BCCSA about your song. And this is what they said. They said, crime occurs every single day, and some of the incidents have racial undertones. The lyrics are just not appropriate, and we can't afford to glorify the use of violence to settle past grievances. And then the SABC went, no, but we want to play this video. And the BCCSA said, no, we have to ban it. Give people some context. What had you said that would make the Freedom Front Plus go,
Yeah, we draw that line.
So I'm going to be generous to everyone that
Came with a critique of the song in terms of it being inappropriate is that it was the use of very harsh imagery, very strong visual graphics, you know. And it was at an insensitive moment. There was a time in South Africa where it was wild in these streets, you know.
why? What was happening for people that don't know?
I mean, it was just before or just after Zuma just came into power, or as president, and things were not calm in the country. Things were pretty much on a tender, like it felt volatile. The moment felt very volatile. So to have a song like that being played, the imagery, the use of words, I get it. But when you think of, first of all, the context around who I am and my message throughout my entire life and the kind of messaging of the song, to twist that and misconstrue that, to just focus on the fact that, oh, this might be inappropriate for this time, would be unfair.
Yeah.
But the merits were there. What really makes me feel a way about that period was that I was suffering personally from it. But I wasn't personally involved in the debate. I wasn't personally involved in the deliberations or anything to do with that. I would also find out by reading headlines like everybody else what was going
really?
on. Yeah.
So like the BCCA,
nobody contacted. Nah, why would they?
Oh, wow.
Because it wasn't about me, right? It was about the broadcaster. The broadcaster is the one that has to answer for it. The broadcaster is the one that has to stand for it. And I'm grateful the broadcaster stood up for me because, you know, they got it. They understood what I was about because at least they took the time to find out what this is really about, right? But it was never about me. It was always about the broader, you know, debate around those kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
So I was never invited to hearings. I was never asked to. I was called once by Radio 702, I think it was, for comment, like, yo, why the hell would you do this type thing? But it's like, yo, man, I can't even stand up for myself at that point. I can't explain anything, and all this ruckus. It was a mess, you know. And I really didn't feel great. Probably the lowest point of my entire career.
Really?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, second lowest point of my
What was the
entire
lowest
career.
point?
Ironically, it was the part-time lover moment, right? But that was definitely a low moment in my life, and I would definitely do things differently at the time. There's a lot I would change with hindsight, because it was unnecessary for me to have gone through all that mess, you know. But yeah, it's part of the story, part of the highs and lows.
I'm sure Freedom Front Plus was just like, just do Heavy 8, man. Why are you here? So Heavy 8 is obviously like one of those songs that no one has a bad word about. I mean, in 2020, people were still doing reaction videos to that song. But I guess it's testament to like a moment in time, right? So what is the story behind Heavy 8? Because people tend to think a bunch of guys were in studio together trying to best each other. Is that what happened?
That is not what happened.
At the time, Outrageous Records,
Black Rage Productions was like a hub for the culture, a meeting place, right? People would just come there and congregate in life. You know, so randomly you'd get Jabba there, you'd get H2O there, you'd get Zombo there, for example, and then they'll just do a song because they just happened to be there, right?
Yeah.
But with Heavy 8, it was different. Battle Cat spent all his time there, and that beat wasn't even a Battle Cat beat, but he lived at the studio. So I remember telling BK, yo, listen, when these guys come in, anytime they show up, as long as there's no one else out of these guys there, record their verse.
Oh, wow.
They can't record it with each other there. They have to
So
hear
you
it later.
knew who the other guys would be from the start?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we picked the 8, you know. So we knew the 8, we picked the 8, we told the 8, they came ready, they recorded their things, and then they heard the things, you know.
So
it's 8 of us, it's 8 bars, no chorus, and that's it.
8 bars, yombalo. So if you're not part of the 8, like were there people who were like, yo, why didn't you call me?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
Because everyone seemed to think it was some kind of like, yo, this is, I don't know, lyricists,
you know, sorority where we're just acknowledging.
It's the Avengers.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't even that. It was like, yo, it's a song with features, guys. Like, oh, you don't ask, how come I was not featured by TL guys? You know what I mean? Like, dog, it's because you were not, you know? But Heavy 8 was literally that. We picked 8 that of our favorite friends / there was a criteria, you know, and that was that. It wasn't even about, yo, who's the nicest?
Yeah.
Who's the dopest? No, it was like, yo, let's get T. Let's get Verb. You know what? Let's get Cradle. So that was that, you know. But over time, what I managed to do was when I was performing it, because it was rare to ever have 8 of all those guys at the same space at the same time, I would then pick 8 of my sort of peers in the space and we'd randomly do it, you know. So there was a time when Pro Kid was doing Heavy 8 with me.
Yeah.
At my launch, actually. Of Listeners Digest, Pro Kid did Heavy 8 with me. Jabba as well did Heavy 8 with me. And then every so often you'd get the original 8, but it was so spontaneous, very little thought out in terms of like, what are we gonna do with this one? No, it was literally like, yo, let's get 8 cats. Which 8? Okay, I'm thinking, Let's give him 8 bars. You know what would be dope? Let's make it track number 8 on the track list. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's the whole thing. You know, if we could have made an 8-minute song, we probably would. But the whole 8 thing stemmed from heavyweights, right? So it's Heavy 8, you know? And then we ran with it. And then it became a moment, you know? It became possibly one of my most poignant collaborations in my entire catalog. You know? I don't think there's any other collaboration that stands out as much as Heavy 8,
And you spoke about you had your faves on there.
Yeah.
And your true fave, your favorite fave, starts the song. And I think that the bromance between you and Stogie T is like amazing. You guys have done your TZ Deluxe, which is a play on Deluxe, Mandla Spikiri and Mdu. You guys have lots of collaborations together. And you also have the same beat, 2 different solo songs on albums that came out around the same time. So I think Mizi's shared a little bit of the story, but what is the real story behind why your Victory and Stogie T's music, from My Good Eye, has that beat?
It's because beat makers share their folders with everybody. That's what it is. These beat makers is out here just
loose with it,
hoeing it out, you know. No, it really is that. It's Mizi played the beat for T, he loved it. Played the beat for me, I loved it. Didn't really share that he played it for the two of us. Both of us ran with it. And then it was like, oh, but yo, what are we gonna do? And it's like, yo, man, actually, you know what? Do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it too. In fact, I'll give you like a head nod and tip my hat, and that's that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm finally seeing it through my good eyes, son, right? That's what I say right at the beginning of the song. So all these things are not things you plan for. You stumble upon them and you roll with them. That's one thing that I think a lot of people find they miss about creativity and creative expression. You can only plan so much, you know? You can only call so much. The rest is gonna have to be rearview mirror, hindsight 2020. Oh, so that's what we did. Or you literally, in the moment, are like, yo, what is going on? And you're a passenger. It's happening to you.
Yeah.
You're not doing it. It's just happening, you know? And that was my good eye. It was just like, and victory. It was like, I guess it's happening.
Yeah.
And then that became what it was.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's a very touching story for people who are fans of both of you, right? Because all the conscious cats, you know, they're like, yes, this is amazing.
Don't yoke me with that guy.
But what kind of took you out of the conscious cat label for a little bit was what you now say is your lowest career moment. A song called Part-Time Lover, Full-Time Freak.
Full-Time Freak.
How does that song come about?
So, long story short, for that album, my primary producers were from Cape Town. One of them was Amin. He wrote the music, wrote the chorus. Beautiful, beautiful song. Easily my most successful, most played.
It's a 5FM fave.
Dude, it's like a number one, my only number one champion thing where I can say on multiple radio stations at the same time, this song was number one.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm so grateful for that song. Hey, that song changed my trajectory, my profile, my access, my space. Once you're in that space, you don't quite know until you're in it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're having a conversation with some friends of mine about Big Zulu, you know, with Ening. Ening is doing things for Big Zulu that once as an artist you've had that, you're not the same anymore after that. You've changed. You become something else, right? So Part-Time Lover was that for me. It made me meet some amazing human beings.
Yeah.
Get into some more extraordinary spaces. Some of these spaces, and that's the high, right? One of my all-time favorite highs of my career. Then the all-time low of my career. Being in a space where no one cares, man, about Zubz Last Letta, your legacy, your songs, your catalogs, my third album, by the way.
Yeah.
And multiple mixtapes in between, a decade, right? In between of like, plus actually, of making powerful music. And I only have 45 minutes to share it with you. Me and my band members, we've created the most amazing set. And no one cares.
They just want Part-Time Lover.
They just want Part-Time Lover. So I'd put it right at the end of the set. Because between now and the end of the set, I have to go back to Black August, Park, what's it called? Parktown? No. What's the bus station in Jozi?
I know what you're saying.
Park something.
Park Station.
Park Station.
Literally.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Giza.
Yo, how do we both lose Park Station at the same time? Because our minds are somewhere else.
Because you went Parktown and then I went Parktown.
And you're like, Parktown, Parkhurst. Park Station. The Park Station version of Zubz Last Letta. The prove yourself guy. I had to go back to that guy where I have to win this audience. I have to get them on my side and I have to start from zero.
Yeah.
The only other guy I knew in the industry who was really good at that was T. T and I both, because we were such outliers and we're such sort of fringe dudes, anytime we're at an audience, they didn't come for us. They came for the headliner, right?
Okay.
So we had to, before the headliner comes on, we had to show them why we deserve to be on the stage. So we'd constantly have to win the crowd over. We'd engage, we'd school, we'd involve, we'd energize, and then we'd build new fan bases with every single performance, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go back to that guy at Part-Time Lover time. And I felt like, that's fine, I can dig back into that guy, so that's cool, we put the song at the end of the set. But as I'm doing this, I'm realizing these guys don't want to be part of that. They're not interested in being a part of that. They don't even want to engage in that, you know?
They're like, golden mic. No.
They're like, what the, that's
You want part-time.
part-time, you know? So I started thinking to myself, I was like, yo, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? Like, what have I become? What's going on? I had a 7-year relationship at the time, and that was ended.
Yeah.
You know, and everything in that moment seemed to be ending, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt really, really low at that time. I questioned myself. I'd never questioned myself before, ever. I never had a reason to. But at that moment, I questioned myself. I was like, yo, man, who are you right now? You know, what are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you with these people? Who are these people? You know what I mean? What is this about? You know, are you really just going to do this because you're going to get paid? Like, dog, you know?
You were having a real existential crisis.
It was that, you know? And I was like, nah, man, this is not, nah. I mean,
And I'd already left.
Outrageous at that time, long time ago. So I didn't even have like Form Voltron around me. Like I didn't have the squad, you know what I mean? And every single one of us was charting their own paths to wherever. And we're on our own now, you know? So I was on my own, you know? And I felt like, yo, in the midst of all this quote unquote success, like, you know, when you have bookings for days and you have stages with thousands and whatever, and you think to yourself, nah, fam, this is not for me. You know? This is not what I enjoy.
Yeah.
Or I'm not enjoying this.
It's interesting that happened once the song was already out, right? Because you're saying at that time you'd already left Outrageous.
Yeah.
The album was called Clear One Last Letta. And that sounds like a goodbye.
That was a goodbye.
So tell me about why you felt like you wanted to say goodbye.
I never wanted to say goodbye to music. I never wanted to say goodbye to creating or even putting out music. I wanted to say goodbye to a chapter. The chapter that was rooted around the 3-album trilogy of listening, right? Listeners Digest, Headphone Music, Clear, right? So this is not, the one after this is not gonna have anything to do with ears, right?
Okay.
And also, I'd left the whole Outrageous Records, I'd left that space. I was trying to become the new version of who I was at the time, right? So all these moments, I wanted to mark them with the fact, and also like we had this distribution deal, right? With CDs, tapes, all of that. I was like, it's late for CDs and tapes, right? The next joint is not gonna have physical product, you know? And at the time it was like, yo man, that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So it was all about the One Last Letta was the end of a chapter, the end of an era, goodbye to that, hello to this new chapter, this new era, right? Where everything lives online. We're performing online, we're releasing online, we're engaging online, everything's gonna be online. And then this thing hit me for 6 and I was like,
Do I even want to make music? Do I even want to
perform? Like, what are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
And once you do that, you then ask yourself, who am I really, right? And then you start to question who you are, you know? And that was low for me because it's never happened to me. And a big part of who I am is the music, man, you know? And when that comes into question, it really I take that personally. I take it very deeply.
Yeah, I understand that. So Part-Time Lover was this very jovial pop song, right? It's a love song, but it's a pop, love loosely. But I mean, like it's a relationships song, right?
It is a relationship stuff, but you're right when you say it's a love song. It is a love song.
Yeah. So that's your pop hit. Then you have songs like My Distress, which are this historical love song. And then you also have a love song that your wife likes to tease you about. She's not a big fan of the storyline. But the song is Handiende, which a lot of people love. The other day I listened to the original Handiende.
Oh, lovely.
It's Steve Marconi, right?
Yeah. You really do your research, yeah?
I was like, do we call this singing? Like, what is happening here?
He grunts sometimes. Yeah, man, yeah, it's fun. It's such a dope song to listen to.
So how did it become a song that you were like, I'm gonna take a little bit of this and put my own spin on it? Okay.
That was a Zeno move.
What happened?
So Zeno, for whatever reason, had the original tape of Steve Marconi. And I was like, who is this guy? And he's like, bruh, have you heard that song, Handiende? I was like, oh, you mean the Oliver Mtukudzi song? He's like, no, that was a rendition. This guy originally did it. Listen. And he presses play, right? Because, you know, at Rage, they had all these old school things, that reel-to-reel tape player. So he presses play, and I hear the song, and it sounded so beautiful and so raw, you know? Like raw. That guy was singing, like you say, it wasn't even like singing. It sounded like
It was not
banshee
singing.
screaming or
Yeah.
something, right?
And then he's like, yo, wouldn't it be dope to make like our version of this joint? And I was like, yo, that sounds good. It's called Battle Cat.
And then we called Battle Cat, and Battle Cat got to work. He called Raskhanso or Njapedi, and they started messing with, I think it was Njapedi who started messing with the guitars. And we called Palesa Mokobong, you know? And we're like, so
And this was
Palesa-
before she was Palesa Mukubung
Right.
of Mansu. Well, I guess she was still doing Mansu and singing at the same time.
Yes.
But now, of course, she's worked with H&M. She's global superstar designer. But back then, she was Palesa.
Right.
And we knew her because she sang with Njapedi, of course, and she was part of the family. So, you know, we're like, so Palesa, here's the thing, man. These are the lyrics. This is what it means. And here's how we'd like you to deliver it, right? And she's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna play with that. And we're like, yeah, this is gonna be weird because she doesn't speak Shona, you know?
Yeah.
Yo, she was
Amazing on it. Her
Wow.
tongue is built for language. And not everyone's tongue is, but hers certainly is. And then, of course, because I knew the song, the context and all of that, I started writing from, first person. Because that's how I usually like to deliver heartfelt things, So my
Yeah.
distress is first person. Handiende is first person. None of these are my stories, but they're delivered in first person because it's so personal, right? So Handiende is now, I want to tell you about this story. So marriage is a sacred sacrament. I took the vow to carry us. This love is adamant, but it still went sour, And I'm telling this story hearing Steve Makoni, hearing Oliver Mtukudzi, hearing Zino, hearing Battle Cat, hearing Japedi, and everything,
coming together in this narrative.
right? And then it just creates the moment. And like all moments, you never really know, man, until you perform it, until it's heard. And the more you perform it, the more magical it becomes. The more people it touches, the more impactful it is. And then hindsight 2020, you look back and go, damn, that Handiende song though, right? That's a monster of a joint, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah.
And you wrote it from the perspective of somebody who's telling his wife, now leave.
Because now at this point, he's not even mad at her. He's mad at himself. He's like,
Oh man, it's so bad right now.
Yeah, but some people maybe living under rocks might not know what the story is. The story is this man decides he's in love with somebody else.
When you say decides,
This man is in love with
just like-
somebody
just
else.
like my wife, man. You're the
No, I
man.
love that song. It's my jam. You know how I learned the lyrics to that chorus?
tell me.
Why Mag? Remember they used to have
Say
that
them for me,
section.
let me hear.
You know me and
You're going to butcher
butchering.
them?
You know.
Okay, but go ahead. Why Mag did what?
They printed the lyrics.
Okay.
And I was like, oh,
Is
I
that
can
what
hear it. You know? But I was trying to explain to people. So this guy...
Sorry.
No, tell me.
Handy Andy. Zygote Goat.
I mean, that was a check for you. You slept on that.
There was
you could have
so
had a
many
handy
versions of
Andy.
that. I know I could have done a Handy Andy, man. I could have been like, yo, Handy Andy, look. Anyway, go ahead.
So this guy decides he's in love with somebody else and he's not leaving his wife. He wants his wife to leave him. That's the way he positions it, right? That she must go home and tell her family. She must be out. Am I right?
Not really. Not really. So there's different layers. I mean, Handiende, that chorus is from her perspective. Because she's empowered in this conversation. She's not being told to do anything. She has a choice. She's out here like...
So Handiende is I'm not leaving,
Yeah,
right?
she's
I'm not leaving.
decided and said, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's because you're telling me to leave. You leave. I'm kidding. Tell me.
Wow.
Tell me.
But you know what? That's also fine. You're allowed to see it that way. I never saw it that way.
I know. I heard it. I listen to it all the time.
Lebu Mashile, I think, also saw it that way because there was a time when Lebu Mashile was very anti that song. But
Anyway,
But she was very agnostic because you guys do that together. I love that song.
Yes. We've done many songs, Lebu and I. Anyway,
Oh, and you also do when you're in front of the taxi cab.
backseat of the taxi, right?
yeah, that one. So anyway, Yeah.
Look, love is not something you choose. Love is something you find yourself in. Nurturing that love is something you choose. What you do with that love, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I thought even then. That's what I still think now. That's why you get surprised even yourself when you find yourself feeling so strongly about someone like, yo, what's going on, right? It's because you're in love, man. It happens. You know what I mean? What are you going to do about it? So the guy finds himself, because he's at work every day with this lady, every day.
They get close.
And in their closeness, they find each other, and they find each other in the most profound way, right? That's love.
That's life.
That's what happens. This is the world, guys. Welcome to it. So in his being him, he's not going to just pretend like, oh, everything's great, and there's no story, nothing to see here. He tells her, yo, what's going on? The girl, the woman at work, he tells her, what's up? What part of the game is this? Goes home and tells her,
now
what
leave.
part of the game? No.
It's not a leave thing. Maybe it's how I said it.
I should have said it differently.
You do put like a lot of bass in your voice. Now
I
leave.
shouldn't have said it with so much bass.
But I like that you said, you know, you nurture love, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm interested in your love for music. Because after Cochlear, you've done other music projects. There's Dragon Lion. You've always had a hand in music in some way or other, but you've also expanded your other business interests. And one of the things that I was very pleased to see is not only did you have a collaborative EP with the Assembly called Podcast, you also have an actual podcast.
Yeah.
Tell me about Key Africans Unlocked, or tell people.
Yeah, I don't need to tell you nothing. You were on it. You were on it there.
Key Africans Unlocked is a podcast I do with my friend Chilu.
Chilu I met in the voiceover industry, an industry that I
have branched into over the years. You know, because as an artist, I'm from the era of artists where you never really made your money from music. That was never your job. So, you know, the website thing, the
IT thing, the voice thing, that became my thing.
And Chilu is one of the guys I met in the voice space.
Yeah.
Turns out he's Zambian. We bonded on that. We have a strong love for the continent. We bonded on that. We're very similar family values. We bonded on those too. Very different outlooks in terms of who we are as people. But creatively also
we also have a song together, which is the ultimate bond in my life. Like when I meet like my friends and family, we generally create together. So anyway, Key Africans Unlocked is a podcast we started several years ago. But unlike you know, we struggle with consistency, man. You are consistent.
I think
you guys, you and your family.
I think Kiso's consistent.
You and Kids.
You and I are on the same side. Kiso's consistent.
We're hoping to change that in 2021, right?
Yes. So tell me, new season is coming up.
Yes. So what we do is we basically just talk to the people in our circles and in our networks and around us who we feel are doing incredible things on the continent and beyond, with ties to the continent. You know, so as long as you have Africa at heart and you feel basically the pulse of the continent, and you're doing some stuff that is really cool, we'd love to have a conversation with you, and we sit with you, we chat, whatever goes.
Yeah.
We're not as organized as you, though. We just generally just shooting the breeze, man.
I am so organized, ne? Yeah. According to you, that it's only now that I'm going to tell people, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. What else, Kiso? What else? They must ring the bell for notifications if you like what we're doing here. But you know, when we started this conversation, you jumped the gun and you mentioned you're not. You see now lyrics. Oh yes, you say I don't win awards. I'm awarded wins, and Listeners Digest on its own was a 2-time Sama nominated album, right?
Headphone was a Sama nominated album as well.
See, so people in the award spaces do see you, right? But It seems like you have this like almost nonchalance about awards. And I was reminded of, I don't remember where we were going, you and us and a bunch of our friends, on vacation. And we went to a mall.
With our Caymans.
Yes, we went to a mall and there was some guy who came up to you. And this like, it feels condescending to say in the middle of nowhere, but it's not in a metropolitan area. It's like far. And some guy was like geeking out and fanning out over you. And you hadn't put out music in a while, you know? So it made me wonder, do you see that as the wins that you are awarded? That somebody is so touched by you and your music that they like?
That's exactly what I meant when I wrote that, you know. It's funny, you know, because we all want validation, you know.
And acknowledgement, we do, as artists, as human beings, you know. So it's
about that for me.
at the end of the day,
It's not about like, oh,
so now that I have this award, I'm now able to charge this amount. Or now that I have this award, I'm able to now go to this level and then that level. For me, an award was never going to do that for me. The kind of music I created made it clear from Jump Street that my trajectory was not going to be leveraged in that sense. But what it was acknowledgement, right? And just, you know, validation, you know? But as they say,
validation is for parking, right?
when I walk...
Told you he's got jokes.
No, that's not for me. It's a quote from somebody. When I walk on the street and I get that type of response, and I've been getting that my entire career, I have the validation. I get the validation all the time. Acknowledgement, like literally, people think
I am everything there is to do with my music. I'm not.
There's promoters, there's the guy who made the beats, there's the person who shot the videos, there's the person who, like, there's so many, there's Zeno, Maria, Tuli, there's a whole family of people. There's the hip hop industry, you know, when Thomas decided to play Family of One, for example, or The Origins, which is before Listeners Digest, on YFM, like, that's what they say when they say Zubz, that's what they think I'm that. No, that's Thomas, and that's Rude Boy, and that's, you know, Leslie, you know, but I'm acknowledged, you know, people still, you know, they give me the acknowledgement, they give me the validation. So that's
the wins I'm awarded.
They give me that already, you know. And once you've had that, you kind of then have a different perspective for awards and stuff, you know. You see them as being, okay,
this is for the people that need to have this.
I don't, you know. But yeah.
It would be nice to get a lifetime achievement or something, you know.
I like that I'm here with you now. This is one of the things I've always wanted. I remember telling Chilu, saying, yo, man, I hope one day Helen invites me to
When is she gonna call me?
Did I tell you about that?
No.
Oh, but that's exactly what I was saying to him. I was like, yo, man, she needs to call me. Because I just like how you have conversations with folks.
You know.
So that's what I meant. I don't win awards, I'm awarded wins. Yeah, I still feel that way too.
Yeah. You know, for me, having you on imbali is an absolute honor. And I think that's a thing that's nice to say. Like, you know, oh, I'm so honored. But it genuinely is an honor. And I've been extremely nervous to have an imbali with you, which is why it's been postponing.
Why were you so nervous?
Because you are genuinely one of the people who changed my life with your music. And then I met you and you didn't suck. And you continue to change my life in small ways and in big ways. And I think this is a good place to kind of, I know we didn't discuss the origins.
No.
People will go and listen to Expressions and Family
so much
of One.
We didn't discuss, but that's okay.
Yeah, there is so much that we haven't talked about. Is there one thing that you're like, I absolutely want to touch on this?
No.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is I really appreciate you as a person and I appreciate your music, obviously, but it's more so about who you are and what you've given us as individuals more than anything that you planned or orchestrated.
Thank you.
And for that,
Helen!
I hope that you can smell your flowers.
Thank you so
while
much.
you are still alive.
Oh, come in. Thank you. They smell great. They smell like friendship. They smell like love.
Oh, yeah.
They smell like acknowledgement and validation. No, thank you so much, Helen. I really appreciate it. And I think in keeping with, I suppose, the culture at Imbali is to acknowledge you and say thank you for having me. Finally, we got to do it. Being in my home to do it, being my friend, man. You're more than just a person I'm being interviewed by. You remember our first interview that you ever did with me?
Was it the Jolly Jammers interview?
It might have been. Was it?
What do you remember?
The one that was on Acorn Dane.
Yes.
Okay, good. But anyway, the point is,
you and I have a bond beyond this, and I'm grateful for it. I appreciate you. I appreciate the person you are for me and my family.
So you know why it's significant that it was Jolly Jammers? So what happened was, I went to go interview you, and you were shooting a music video for A Time to Heal.
Yes.
And
with Pedro.
Yeah, and while we were there, I had brought some Jolly Jammers, the biscuits.
Oh, is that why?
And you were like, what are these? And I was like, these are Jolly Jammers. And then we had them and it was like, oh my God.
These are amazing.
And literally we have the same sweet tooth. So we're always like eating the same things. But now that is a weird place to end this. But thank you very much for your time.
You should actually have some dessert now. There's like some...
I know. Thank you very much for your time and thank you for being who you are. So that was our imbali with Zubz, The Last Letta. My name is Helen Herimbi. If you liked this episode and any other episodes from Imbali, please make sure you subscribe and I will see you again soon.